Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to Tone Talk with Mark Uvansky and Dave Friedman. It's episode 91. Can you believe that? 91 episodes?
No.
It's crazy. We've got an awesome guest tonight, guitar player for Guns N' Roses. He's played for the Psychedelic Furs, the Dead Daisies, Richard Fortus. How you doing, Richard?
I'm good, thanks. Thanks for having me on here. This is quite an honor.
Oh, the honor's ours, man. Thank you. Thanks for joining. Really appreciate it. And Dave, what are you drinking?
Well, thanks to Michael Torrin, which he probably is not in the chat yet, but thanks to Michael Torrin, we have a Belvini 21 year.
Ooh.
Portwood. Very excellent scotch.
See, now I'm
not cheap.
Now I know why he gets first dibs on
the Soldano.
Well, you know,
right.
You know, a nice bottle of something goes a long way in a lot of areas.
All right.
In a lot of people's lives, you know.
I got to write that down.
Note to self. Yeah,
exactly. I have not sent Dave any bottles of anything, and I think now I understand why. I'm waiting.
Why you're not getting first dibs.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not getting any packages. So,
the funny thing is, like, someone might think I drink all the time. I don't drink all. Like, I mean, I haven't had a single drop of anything for, I don't know, 10 days or something. I don't know, and then I decide to have some drinks if I want or not.
It's the weekend. Why not? Yeah. No, trust me. You're not an alcoholic.
Never have been.
No, we don't want people to think that you are. So, Rich, what have you been up to, man, during this 10 months of madness?
I've been home. I haven't been traveling at all. I'm actually, luckily, I've had a fair amount of work coming in, and I'm just working out of my studio here in my home. Which is nice. I mean, I've never been home this much, so it's been great. I've been able to get to know my kids. Yeah.
Now I know your name finally.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's been really awesome for me because I get to hang out with them all day. I mean, I'm down here working and they're upstairs in school and in their rooms, and it's been great. I get to have lunch with them. We have dinner every night. It's like,
yeah.
Have you had to play teacher yet?
Okay. They're both really self-sufficient and much smarter than I am. Okay, so, yeah.
Yeah, you know you're in trouble when, like, your 10-year-old or something will come up to you with a problem from school, and you're looking at it going,
yeah.
I don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've had that before where I'm lost with whatever homework.
Well, I always go like math. Math
is the worst.
Math, the way they do it now, doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
I was taught the way to, long
division,
right, and just carry the one, blah blah blah.
Yep.
They don't do it that way anymore. And I'm like going, seems so much harder now.
What do they call that now? What was it?
I don't know.
Math.
Yeah,
my wife always says
core math or something.
Yeah, Common Core. That's
Common Core.
My wife says to the girls. My wife always says to the girls, if it was fun, they wouldn't call it math. They'd call it donuts, something.
I like that. That's funny. So I actually have heard that you have a Jose Marshall.
I do.
You still have it?
Yeah, right down there. Yes, I do. I know you do. Yeah, I do, and it's the greatest Marshall I've ever heard. I bought mine from McMars when I first joined Guns. And I've never heard another. I mean, Plexis do something different than, it's a 73. So it's much tighter on the low end, and but man, it's not super gainy like a lot of Jose's stuff. It's really just broad and open sounding, and there's just so much definition. It's not very gainy though, not compressed in that way that a lot of his stuff is.
It just sounds like the standard three-way mod that he had, which is just a gain stage in front of kind of a plexi with a master volume, basically. That's what it sounds like if it's not gainy. It doesn't have a push-pull master, does it?
Yes.
Oh, it does.
Mm-hmm.
This is one of the mode. No, okay. Well, then it might have the clipping diodes.
I have to bring it to you, Dave. You have to, because I really would love to do. Voodoo Amps on the East Coast had cloned it, and they did an excellent job. But I've been trying to figure out what I'm gonna do for another rig, because I need to have 2 in each rig.
Right.
So, and I don't want to take that one out anymore.
Oh, that would be
the Marshall.
No big deal to do.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
I mean, I've only been in, God, I don't know how many at this point, 50
Really?
of them or something over the course of time. Yeah.
Didn't you have a Black Flag one that you?
I did originally have a Black Flag one, which was just the basic mod, which I sold a million years ago, and then later Lon Cohen, Studio Rentals, he had it since. I mean, I sold it to him probably in 1992.
Right. I've used that amp.
Yeah.
We've rented that amp.
And then he sold it for an exorbitant amount of money. I said, "Hey, can I buy it back from you?" And he goes, "Yeah, here's the price." And I'm like, no.
Wow.
Well, it was a Black Flag Plexi, and it was a Jose mod. So that, I mean, just the Black Flag Plexi is worth $1 gazillion by itself. And
right.
Did the Jose mod bring it down or make it?
Oh, made it higher.
Oh,
I forgot what he sold it for. 15,000, 18,000, something like that.
Holy crap.
Yeah, it is. There's no way in hell. Sorry.
Yeah.
I unfortunately, it's just, I mean, it's a collectible item, and that's the only reason that it's going for that much money. It won't necessarily sound any better than if you made a clone of it or a new one. It just looks cool.
What was the difference with the Black Flag? I'm not familiar with it.
Black Flag was an early, well, there was generally the Black Flag era amps it was a transition on the 50 watt amps it kind of started with, where it was a transition between a JTM 45 and a 50 watt. So it was like basically a 50 watt with a tube rectifier. Now the 100 watt version of it was sort of a similar affair, but no tube rectifier.
And was that what you had, the JTM 45 100 100?
Well, it wasn't the JTM 45 100 100. It was a Black Flag 100.
So the Black Flag, okay.
The thick stack transformers, which generally I don't actually recommend, because I don't think they sound as good as the just the regular old Plexi transformers that were later. Which is a really early version of a Plexi 100.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it's just the way the logo and the way it was designed.
Yeah, it has a little logo in the corner that has a little, looks like a black box that says JTM in it, I think. Yeah.
You never see those.
No, never. They didn't make them very long. It was very few and far between on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I could kick myself for, if I had there were so many things I've sold over the years that I can't think about it, because if I do, I'll just get upset.
So Dave,
that was one of them.
Were you ever a Tweed guy? Were you ever a Fender guy?
Not so much. Mostly all English Marshalls, Voxes, Marshalls, High Watts.
Okay.
That's me.
What about the more obscure stuff, like Laney's or
obscure,
like Selmers or Kelly's or El Picos, or what other great English? Carlsbro.
Yeah, all those are really cool. I had the fortunate, I've told on the show before, I was fortunate enough when I moved to California when I was 18 years old in 1988. I went to work for Andy Brower's Studio Rentals at the time.
Yep.
So
I remember Andy
at
Brower.
the time, Andy had everything under the sun in that showroom. I mean, literally anything, everything, every tweed amp, every blackface amp, modded Marshalls, vintage Marshalls, high watts, brown face Fender Basemans, you name it, right? So I learned really early on what all the what everything sounded like, what it all was, and how here's a Tweed Deluxe and it sounds this way. Okay, I get it,
Right.
I learned it was like a big library to me at that point in time. But I was already into I moved to California with plexis already. Yeah, I was already into that stuff. So for me, it was just like, oh, okay, now I know. I've learned every single amp and what it does and what it sounds like. And that's a library that most people don't get a chance to have. Because they just don't have the opportunity to have played. I mean, back to back, every blackface amplifier made. Maybe except for an obscure one or two. But
I was going to say Joe Bonamassa can do that, but other than
that, sure. Starting from the Prince, Champ, Princeton, Deluxe, Reverb, Vibrolux, Vibraverb, Super Reverb, Twin. That literally was all in the showroom.
Yeah, that's all in Joe's living room.
Right.
Joe Bonamassa's house is like a museum, and he's got every year, every Tweed. It's of every model. It's incredible.
Yeah. Now he's going the Marshall,
and they're all immaculate. They're all like perfect.
Yeah, he goes for these insanely clean vintage pieces. It's insane. It's incredible. By the way,
I've got one of everything, but mine are not clean.
Hey, it doesn't matter.
Hey, I mean,
but they sound good.
You mentioned Laney's too. The old Laney's were killer.
I've got a super group right here.
The trainers, old trainers can be cool.
Trainers, sure.
The
speaking of Laney, Dave, I've got a question for you. Do you know Music City?
Yeah.
Music City. Okay, no, there was an amp called a Music City, and they were. I've had one for years, and I just found out that it's the exact same thing as a super group. It's the
there was a lot of that cross pollination.
Yeah.
Like I found there's this other amp out there that I saw on Reverb recently called a Flame. Yeah, it was red, and I was like, Flame. Wow, that looks familiar. I did a little research on it, and I'm like going, oh, that was the designer that designed all the Selmer stuff. And if you look, it's like the same Selmer chassis, the same kind of front panels, same everything,
Oh, Kelly. So Kelly also, before he did Flame, he started Kelly amps. Right. And he left Selmer and took a few of the guys with him and started Kelly. And I've got a Kelly here. I've got 2 more in the other room. Mm-hmm. I'm a big Selmer fan, but
great. I like the Croc ones.
I've got 2 Croc ones.
Treble and bass 50 Croc.
Yeah, I've got 2 Zodiacs.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. See, you guys are talking amps that I've never played before.
Most people in this world haven't.
Yeah, I haven't. What do they sound like? Are they for Fenderish or?
No, they're more Vox-ish. Like
English.
I think they're
Iwad mixed with Vox, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
A little bit.
The treble and bass is like a high, almost like a blackface Fender crossed with a Vox.
Okay.
Then the Zodiacs I really dig.
Yeah.
But yeah, I got a lot of those weird English amps.
I like the weird ones. And sometimes I find myself looking for oddballs that I know can be cool or were just an odd. Came really close to buying this amp, and I probably would have regretted it actually because I don't think it was going to sound that great. But do you remember Alan Holdsworth at one time used Sundown amps?
Mm-hmm. Yep, I do remember that.
And there was one up for sale, and I looked at the model and I looked at the schematics online, and I'm like, going, that should sound pretty good, I think. It was like $600. I was like going, I almost bought it. But
Yep.
sometimes you just want like you don't want to go out and buy something because I don't know, you're bored or you just want some new toy.
Right.
Yeah.
That happens, right? It's like, oh, what do they got in the vintage pedals over here? Oh yeah, I don't have that. Oh, that's cool.
It looks cool.
It looks cool. Let's
It's
just buy
fuzzy.
it. Okay, it's $200.
Right. And then you get a package 3 weeks later, and
Then you try it, and then you put it on your shelf, and then it sits there.
Yep.
And collects dust for a long time, and maybe you bring it out again at some point. But
so, Dave, do you know the El Pico amps?
El Pico.
It was an English amp.
I don't know El Pico.
They look like a little lunchbox, like metal, almost like a bigger treble booster. That same type of casing, but it's bigger and they're gray. I have 2 of them, and there's like a simple mod you can do, and apparently they're the exact same as an 18-watt Marshall.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah.
And you change the phase inverter, and you basically got a 18-watt Marshall. Same transformer, same everything. Yeah.
Did you ever see the little baby 20-watt Sound City heads that they were made?
Yeah.
That looked it's tiny, like a little box. It looked like.
Yep.
Those are cool. I've worked on a few of those.
I've got a few Sound Cities. I've got the one I was talking about before was not the one that's the same as the Laney. It's called a Music City, not a Sound City.
Right.
So anyways, but I've got a couple of 200-watt Sound Cities, and I've got a Sound City 120.
200-watt ones are great for bass.
I've got that's predominantly what they were used for. Same with the I've got a high watt 200 too.
Ooh,
and you know what else? And it was actually belonged to Punky Meadows, and it was stolen in St. Louis. But
I serviced one not too long ago, and it's like literally the lights would dim when you flipped it on.
Yes, that's exactly yes. And you hit a chord, and the lights dim. And
we were like, okay, I had this higher wattage cabinet I didn't care about in the shop, like this JCM 800 cabinet with 75-watt speakers I didn't give a crap about. Like, this is plugging into that.
And you just plugged it into one 412 cab.
One 412 cab. Well, I mean, with those speakers, I didn't care what was going to happen. And we put bass through it. And God, it was good. Oh man, it was even good for guitar, clean. Like, it had a certain chime to it that was really cool.
So what I do with my 200 watts is I'll take one 16 ohm out into a 412, and then I'll take another one into a load box, into like an aux or something, and then it's
the power.
Yeah. And it makes it a bit more manageable. One of my favorite amps is a Park 150.
Yeah.
4 KT88s. You have one?
I had one.
Okay.
I had a really weird one. I bought it in 1989 or so from Mike Soldano. Mm-hmm. It was it had a Soldano mod on it. So it was a 200-watt Plexi, or the 150-watt Plexi Park with a Soldano mod on it. It was devastatingly brutal.
Huh.
It's a cool amp.
Yeah, because it's like a combination of a major and a super lead, because it has the extra preamp tube.
Mm-hmm.
And it's essentially like what Blackmore used to use, because didn't Blackmore have a major that he would have the preamp tube put in?
Yeah,
the extra gain
or he
stage.
used a tape machine in front of the major. He used to use a reel-to-reel tape machine that would preamp the front of the amps a little bit.
Huh.
You didn't hear that before?
No, I did not.
Yeah, it was like a distortion box, basically. It would boost
like
the front
an EP3 box.
Yeah, well, sort of, but it would boost it more than that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love the preamp section of EP3s.
Well, they don't necessarily preamp anything more. They just make it sound better.
Yeah.
It's just like rounder or something, or just there's something coloration to it that just adds a cool thing to it.
Yeah, but it seems to compress it a little bit and make it more sustaining.
Yeah, sure.
But exactly. It's not like overdrive or anything like
No.
that. But man, EP3s are magical, aren't they?
Yeah, except they don't ever work very long.
Well, there is that. There is that.
Even if they're serviced, like I had mine serviced, and I have a really good guy that can service them. And we were going to use it in that video I did with Pete Thorne, that Van Halen-esque video we did.
Yeah,
and
I saw that.
And yeah, that was a failed attempt. It broke.
Really?
Couldn't do it. We wanted to. We had all the right materials, but some of them broke.
They're very finicky.
Yeah,
if you look at them wrong, they're going to break.
Yeah.
That's
crazy. Hey, I want to get to a couple super chats before they swing by me and I can't find them again. Rummy, thanks for the super chat. He says, Mick Mars tone talk, shout at the Marshall. Speaking of that, how did you acquire the Marshall from Mick?
You remember Lloyd at Voltage?
Yeah.
Guitars. So Lloyd called me up, and I had just joined Guns, and I was buying Marshalls, and he knew, and said, "Hey, my buddy Mick is selling a bunch of his stuff. If you want to go out there with me this weekend." So I rode out to his house, and Mick was going through, I think, a divorce or something, and moving, and was trying to get rid of a bunch of stuff, and so I plugged into probably 10 different Jose's modded Marshalls.
Wow.
and just plugged into this one, and it was just magical. I mean, I hit one chord, and the skies, the clouds parted, and angels sang, and a light shone down. It was great.
It's like, how much you want?
and he was like, yeah, that's the one I did all the albums with. And I'm like, oh man, you got to keep this. He's like, look, you think you're taking advantage of me? You're not. You're doing me a favor. I don't need it. And so I was like, oh, okay, I'll take it. And that. I bought a Plexi from him as well.
Wow.
That I still have.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And now I'm getting ready to sell a ton of stuff.
Yeah, you were telling us before.
Yeah. Sell off.
You want to tell us why?
Only going to keep the essential stuff, and mostly guitars. It's selling amps is really hard, because each one does something unique. I mean, even with Marshalls, it's like just in my control room here, I've got a JTM 45 Park, 100-watt Plexi, and then a 50-watt Plexi PA head that my buddy modded for me. A Kelly, which we were talking about before. It's a Kelly PA head that's been modded, and then a Laney Supergroup. 3 more Marshalls, 100-watt 73. It's like, because each one does something different.
Yeah.
There's an old orange 73 orange. Yeah. So I mean, everything does, and I'm attached to all of them.
And there's a certain visual to it too. You just look at it. Well, at least for me. Now, I think this doesn't translate well to the younger audience, shall we say. But for me, when I see an old cabinet, an old head sitting there that has some abuse and some wear and tear and tears in the Tolex and this and that, I just kind of look at it and go, ooh, what's its story?
Yeah, that I'm more that way about Tweed amps, about Fenders. There's something about the way an old beat up Tweed amp looks that just makes me long to plug into it. It's like I every time I walk by I've got a live room out here with a ton of Tweed amps, and every time I walk in there, I just want to plug into each one. There's just something magical about them.
The Strat.
Well, I was going to say, when you plug into them, do you find yourself playing a different guitar when you go into the Tweed stuff? Like, are you playing more Fendery guitars?
No, I
don't
subscribe to that. I mean, I know there's a lot of cats that like, Fenders with Fenders, and I have no problem plugging into a Tweed Twin with a 335. You said it differently. You said it differently, but or a junior into a bandmaster,
Oh, now you're talking.
right? I mean, that's
Wait,
hard to beat.
Brown face bandmaster with
No, a Tweed, the
oh, yeah,
310.
okay, that's great.
310.
Well, there's some Tweed amps that are very martially. So like, like some of that like Tweed Twins and Basemans and
Yep.
all of those are cathode follower amps, and they're all they all have this Marshall kind of character to them, kind of.
Yeah, my Tweed Twin. What I'll do a lot is run.
Or I guess they were the first. Marshall has their character.
Right. But I'll run a line out of the Tweed Twin into my aux, take the aux, and then use the modeled 412,
right,
and then run the cable back to the speakers and mic the amp. And so that way I've got a 412 and the regular 212.
Killer.
And also I've got a low power Tweed Twin that I had for years, and I never was crazy about it. It was okay. It was okay. I changed the speakers to was it Alnico Creams?
Yeah.
And my God, it's now one of my favorite amps. It's incredible.
Yeah, it's a really good speaker. It's even a good speaker in 412s.
And what's amazing is it's good right out of the box. Like you don't have to break it in.
Yeah.
Great speaker.
Yeah.
You're a big Cream.
Well, we use creambacks in some things. To be honest, I don't. Yes, some of those. I like the Creamback H in a 412. That's a cool speaker. It's a little more scooped. Of course, I love greenbacks. I mean, everything has its place. You know what I mean? Like, so a vintage 30 has its place. Greenback has its place. Everything has its thing. It depends on the amp. Depends on the tone.
I've never had a whole lot of luck with vintage 30s personally, but
well, the funny thing is, like, sitting in front of them, they don't always sound that good, but a lot of times they record quite well. It's and sit and track quite well. It's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. In my live rig, I'm using G12H's and the Alnico Golds.
Yeah.
In an X pattern, and it works really well for me.
Good. Sure. That also for a high wattage Celestion, a redback. You need like a lot of power. Like some of our combos, we have 112 combos, and we were blowing up creambacks left and right. Because just the open back, they don't like it after a while if you're kind of cranking up the amp. So we went to the redback, and the redback sounds incredible. It's really good. It's not too bright. It's kind of broken in sounding. Just sounds
interesting. Okay.
It sounds like in the greenback family, so to speak.
Right.
Like that sort of tone, but it's 150 watt it'll handle. So
right.
Can dish out a lot, but it seems to sound really nice and a little rolled in the top end. So if you got a brighter amp, you want it a little sweeter, it works really well.
I noticed that with the Marsha that I have, the creams work really well.
Yeah.
Oh, so you have a Marsha?
Yeah, he bought one early.
Yeah, I've got a 100-watt single channel.
Oh wow, really?
That's a killer one. You know what else I've got? Even older than that, Blankenship.
Which one? The Variplex?
The Variplex. Didn't you do that?
Huh?
Didn't you do that?
Yeah, that was me.
Yeah, it's a great amp. That's a great amp.
That's a great plexi, basically.
Yeah, with the Variac.
Yep.
Yeah, that's an amp that I still use quite a bit.
Cool.
You can't.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Those are hard.
Yeah, I've seen them. And they're not that expensive. I'm shocked. I figured they'd be outrageously expensive now.
I have the prototype. I have the prototype with an original Carry Wright head box, which is sort of modeled after what my Dirty Shirley head box became.
Okay.
Very cool.
I might sell it though. I don't know.
Mark, you need to get a bottle to him real quick.
Exactly. I gotta start shopping. By the way, did you get your did you hear from Neil Giraldo on the bottle yet? Did you get yours?
Yeah, it's sent. I was hoping to actually I was hoping it would arrive for tonight, but
It hasn't arrived yet, right?
it hasn't arrived yet. But
Okay, yeah, mine hasn't arrived yet either.
He confirmed that they were sent.
Yeah, that's what he said. He wrote me also and said it was sent, but I didn't.
When Neil Giraldo was on, we realized that he has a whiskey company.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah,
3-chord whiskey, and it's
All
really
right.
highly rated. And he does like rye whiskeys and all sorts of
bourbon
and things. And of course, I spoke up. Well, I'd like to try it. Well, I'll send you some, sure.
Yeah, what a nice guy.
But you haven't gotten it yet.
No, it hasn't arrived yet. Everything's so freaking slow these days.
I did look it all up though, and it does have really good reviews, like 94 rating from like one of the major liquor critics and stuff. And I'm like, wow, that's heavy. That's good.
Good for him.
I don't know.
Hey, we got another super chat from Stay Curious. Thank you. Dave, which Friedman would you recommend to get a high gain JCM 2000 type tone? I'd say avoid that at all costs.
Sorry, I don't think any of my amps will do that tone.
Yeah.
I mean,
but you can try multiple Friedman.
How about try a B100 Deluxe, and that'll probably kick its ass. So let's go there.
Yeah.
And where in LA can you try multiple Friedman amps? Well, before COVID, you could try it at our shop, Tone Merchants. Although now we don't have a demo setup anymore right now. So it's going to be a while before that's back and running. So
is that shop not there?
Well, Tone Merchants exist as a custom shop mostly. So yes, it's still there. But we kind of have, when COVID started, we kind of dismantled and reconfigured around in there. So we had bigger workspace and more space between, whoever's going to work. And so now it mostly was a custom shop towards, the last several years. So we still sell product technically. I mean, my partners is the owner of it. And there's still product that's sold, but it's more mail order kind of things and specialty items and pedal boards and racks and, like I done for you.
Yes, you have.
Several times.
Yep. Yep. Hey, that reminds me that what was the last thing that I had kept bugging you about? I think it was the Eventide.
Yeah.
The H9.
Yeah.
I finally found out that they don't work in that situation. You're always going to have phase issues. It's because of their processing.
Because that it's I mean, in retrospect, I understand what it is. You need it with a mixer because you need to have the analog dry path, because you have one amp that's dry and one that's wet. So you're passing through an A to D and D to A converter of the Eventide.
Right. And
a lot of your other effects have an analog dry path, so that's not an issue. But the Eventide, not so much.
Right.
So it needs to have an analog mixer, essentially, to fix that issue.
That's way too much to deal with. I can get
just get the Strymon back or something or whatever you have.
Yeah.
I have behind me is a wet, dry, wet setup.
Yeah, but like he was doing it like, so there was a complete dry amp and then one amp that had an effects loop that occasionally had that pedal in. And so if you inserted that pedal in that, it would delay it.
Right.
So
it was out of phase with the other amp.
It sounds phasey. It doesn't sound right.
Interesting.
Right.
You can fix it with a little tiny box, but if you really want to use
a lot of little tiny boxes. I've got a whole box.
Or you can use a different tiny box to do the same kind of thing.
Yeah, or I could just get another unit, which is what I did.
That's cool.
What'd you put in?
Yeah. I think I put the Strymon back in.
Okay. Great.
Yeah.
We got another super chat. JP Henry, thank you. Heard from a guy who says he originally owned Mars's amp 73 Super Lead Missing R. Jose Mod sold to Little Mountain Studios circa 89. Maybe yours?
No, mine came directly from Mick, and
Does it say Soup Lead or?
no, it doesn't. It's actually really ugly, and there's two holes that Rudy Laren cut in, who was Mick's tech, that for fans. I think there was an intake fan and out.
Yeah. Man, there were so many 70s amps that were butchered like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't have to do that.
No.
Well, they were putting extra fans to keep things.
Well, here's the thing. The history behind that sort of is in shall we say the olden days in the 70s, matched tubes didn't exist.
Right.
And pretty much the thing of the day was just shove the tubes in the amp.
Right.
So
they wouldn't even.
You had non-matched tubes, so you had tubes that were vastly different from each other,
and not biased,
and not biasing it, and so you have no idea if one tube, its current is through the roof and red plating and melting, while the other stuff is not. You just have no idea. I mean, it works maybe for a while. But that's why is like they were probably raging hot, and like that's where all these fans came from to cool them down and all this stuff. And it was kind of like the dark ages of. It's like the dark ages of medicine, but the dark ages of tubes.
Yeah,
that's funny.
Well, that was the story that I heard too. Even on Eddie Van Halen stuff. So I remember Rudy Laren told me actually. Speaking of. Early on, you heard those stories of him blowing up transformers and going through output transformers and melting tubes. Well, guess what? That's just because they were shoving unmatched tubes in amps that were like,
and then variacing it, right?
Well, variacing it, but I mean, like, it was just all over the place with the tube. So if one was melting down, and they didn't pay attention, then it might have taken out a transformer, or if it arced in some weird way, it might have taken a transformer out. He said after they got Jose matched tubes up for them and set the amps properly, all the problems went away. They never blew transformers anymore.
Huh. That's great.
So that's the story.
That's believable.
Yeah, totally.
So curious, Rich, if we can go back in time, tell us more about your career. I was reading that you played with the Psychedelic Furs, and just curious, tell us more about,
go way back to your wee child.
Yeah.
When you became a child and played guitar, and just curious.
Yeah, I joined the Furs. My first band opened. We supported the Furs on a tour. We had an album out on Atlantic, band called Pale Divine. And we supported the Furs on a tour in the US. And then I ended up joining them. And then I ended up doing a couple of albums with the singer with a new band called Love Spit Love.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and I was living in New York and doing sessions and playing with all sorts of people. And eventually got the call from Guns. And went out to audition, and actually I was on a tour when I was on a tour in Europe with Enrique, who I think we did like 3 nights at Royal Albert Hall, and then had 2 days off. So I flew back to LA to do the audition. And
did you say Enrique Iglesias you were playing with?
This is back when he was, he was huge at that time.
Yeah, I was going to say that was.
You were in the Dead Daisies too, somewhere.
I did the Dead Daisies. I did Thin Lizzy for a while.
Yes.
But yeah, I did the Daisies and Thin Lizzy after I was already in Guns, just on downtime.
Right.
But yeah, Thin Lizzy was one of the definitely one of the highlights of my career, just because I grew up on those guys. And to me, they were, God, man, Live and Dangerous was really, I think my idea, where I developed my ideals of guitar, what the perfect rock guitar tone was, was from that record.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember telling Scott that, and Scott was like, man, hate to burst your bubble, kid, but we just had the amps we could afford. We couldn't afford the new Marshalls. We had the older ones. Yeah.
Yeah, those are the good ones, though.
Right. But yeah, they just couldn't afford them. But yeah. So that was.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say playing guitar harmonies with Scott Gorham is pretty.
Oh, that's got to be great.
Up there on my list.
And that was right after Vivian Campbell did it, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Because Vivian did it. I remember Vivian coming in our shop and talking about playing with that. He goes, "Oh God, it's just a labor of love here. I don't care about what Because I'm just playing because I love it. I don't care what I'm getting paid or nothing." He goes, "I'm just doing it for fun."
Yep, me too. And it sure was fun, just to be able to play those songs.
Yeah, I bet.
I can imagine.
It was so great.
That's awesome.
And Scott's great. He's just such a great human being. I think I did the last tour with Brian Downey when he was still doing it. And what a great drummer. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Real swing. A lot of that stuff is real, like sort of big band when you listen to it. Right. And he's got that swing thing going on that it's you don't hear it much in drummers nowadays. So that was a really cool experience for me.
I can imagine that.
And especially to do it in Europe where they're gods.
They're huge. Yeah.
Probably do it again in a minute too if you had time.
I would. Man, I'd still be doing it if I didn't have my day job.
yeah, sure. Understandable. I remember when you first got the Guns thing. I remember when they were auditioning the other guitar player. I remember there was a point in time they actually auditioned John Sykes.
Yeah, that's right. I
I heard that was great.
He was. That was when DJ came in.
Yeah, I know.
So we auditioned a bunch of people, and John Sykes was incredible. And I remember Tommy Stinson came in, and we walked into rehearsals, and we see John there. Tommy turns around to the tour manager. He goes, "Man, send him home. I mean, why are we doing this? Axel's not going to go for this." And he's like, "It's John Sykes, man. He learned the songs. The least you could do is listen to him." So Tommy's all right, fine. So we go in the room, and within 2 minutes, Tommy is looking over at me like, "Oh my God." I mean, he was just, it was incredible. Incredible.
I know. I wish I could have seen that one.
And just plugged straight into the amp.
Yeah.
And just killed it. His tone was incredible. And
that's what I heard. That's what I heard. I heard from, I think, some other people that were working for the band at the time, the techs, that are just going, "Oh my God, he came in and just killed it." It's not going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. Our jaws were on the ground for sure. But, John's reputation does precede him.
Okay. I got you.
But man, I personally got along great with him, and I kept in contact with him. Actually, I kept in contact with him pretty regularly until I got the Thin Lizzy gig, and then he didn't call me anymore. But I thought he was great.
Yeah, I actually I reworked one of his Jose Marshalls recently.
It
was a pleasure.
The 800.
No, I reworked a older one that he had used on all the Whitesnake stuff.
Was it a 2-input?
It was a 70. It was a big logo, late 70s JMP.
Okay, yeah. That might have been what he brought down.
It was 100 watt. It was 100 watt that he supposedly used on earlier Whitesnake stuff. before
Okay.
the like the 50-watt 800 ones that he had with like Thin Lizzy and stuff.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, he was having this problem. No one seemed to fix it, and of course, I found it and fixed it. And
Right on.
called me back and
So
said,
you've
"It sounds better than it sounded in a million years."
That's awesome. So how was it for you to audition for Guns N' Roses? Tell us about that whole process.
well, when I auditioned, Buckethead was in the band and Robin Fink. And speaking of JCM 2000s, Robin's a great player. I love playing with both those guys. I thought they were both phenomenal musicians. And Tommy had been a friend of mine for a while. I had originally gotten the call to come out and audition, and I was living in New York. They called me up and asked if I'd be interested in auditioning. Sure. And I said, well, I'm going to be out there in a couple of weeks doing an album. Maybe we could do it at that time. And they said, oh, that's great. That's perfect. We'll set it up. And we talked back and forth. They sent songs, and then I was going to do it when I got out there, and I wasn't hearing back from them the last few days. And I figured, well, I guess it's not going to happen. So I flew out to LA, and I get to the session, and Josh Freese was the drummer at the time, and Tommy Stinson were on the session that I was doing, the album that I was doing. And I was like, oh, that's so funny that you guys are here, because I was supposed to come audition for you this week. And they're, oh, you're the guy from New York, right? Yeah, Axel found this guy Buckethead and called off all the auditions. So so I became best friends with Tommy that night. And next time they needed a guitar player, they called me again. And like I said, I flew in and auditioned, and I didn't sleep. I got off stage, had a car waiting, went straight to Heathrow, got on a plane, flew to LA, went straight to the audition, hung out all night talking to Axel and listening to music in his car, and went back to the airport, flew to Ireland to meet the tour.
Wow.
And yeah.
That must
Funny thing happened in the airport when I was at LAX, and I hadn't slept for 2 days, and I'm sitting at LAX, and this kid comes up to me and goes, "Excuse me, are you who I think you are?" And I'm like, "No, probably not." And he goes, "You're not Izzy Stradlin?" And nobody had ever said that to me in my life. Nobody. And I felt like I was being punked, like I'm looking around for cameras, and I thought, no, I'm not, but I think I just took his gig. It was a really strange moment.
I can imagine.
But that was my audition.
That must have been wild, hanging out with Axel in his car, listening to music.
Yeah. He was playing me, new songs and stuff that they were working on, and yeah, I'm glad. I'm very thankful that he waited for me to finish the tour, and so we could start rehearsals.
Right. That's awesome. So
you've been in the band. That was almost 20 years ago.
Yeah, that's 20 years, huh?
Yeah. 2000 and 2001.
Wow.
End of 2001 was that audition.
God, time flies.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, time just goes away quick.
And I haven't seen you live with the band, but do you take any solos, or is it mostly you're playing Izzy stuff, or are you
No, we I do get to play solo. Slash has been very very generous. It's a lot of fun playing with him. He's a lot of fun to play with.
Yeah, that sounds great.
And he's very gracious. Yeah.
So are you playing mostly the Jose Martin Marshall for those gigs?
I'm using the Voodoo clone of that, and then also a Supro combo.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
And yeah,
wasn't Supro going to do an amp for you at some point, or weren't they?
They were, but
got sold, right?
Yeah.
And then that all fell through, I imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so now I'm looking for a amp manufacturer. You know anybody, Dave?
Maybe. I might know someone. That might kind of be fun to do too.
You're familiar with Jose's, right?
I've been in a few.
Yeah, that would be awesome, man. I told Mark that I've been meaning to call you about that.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Not to put you on the spot right now.
Well, you know, the biggest problem that we're having
with a
right
live
now
audience.
the biggest problem we're having right now is there's so many sales going on. Like, I mean, like music gear is on fire. It's so crazy, you know, with all this crap going on.
Yep.
It's so crazy. It's like the company that builds it is like, oh, great. We don't need another model right now to try to get out the door. We're back ordered on all the models we have, you know. But you know, you know, like we did, you know, the fun thing is sometimes we're really the last time we did something special for an artist, we did a limited edition model for Jakey Lee. And that was crazy successful. You know, it was like a 200 piece. That's it. It's over with. And you can't find them anywhere. They sold out. You just can't buy. You can buy them for more money now.
Right.
But you know, people are asking more money for them.
But we should do that.
Maybe a limited run or something. That's kind of fun to do that. Different, like one color limited run, like something cool looking.
Did you do? Is that what you did with Phil X, or is that a
no? That was an ongoing amp. But you know, here's what I've learned with a lot of times with artist amps or something. Is like, you know, you have a lot of initial sales, and then it eventually tapers down. Some it's just a natural thing with the artist amps. It just seems to eventually taper down, unless it's like a 20-watt amp, and then it keeps going. Like the Cantrell was probably the most successful amp we've ever had as far as an artist amp goes, and the 20 watts have legs, like they just keep going.
Right.
You know, this day and age, a lot of people want small amps, and
the price is a bit more palatable too. I mean,
it's more palatable too than a $3,500 amp, sure.
Yeah.
And the Cantrell is the HBE, right?
No, the Cantrell is it's the JJ Cantrell amp. It's like a BE channel with a saturation and a clean channel, and it's a variation of a original BE amp. Sure.
Because I remember when he was using those.
Yes, yeah. Then it evolved to like specifics for him, and then sounds godly.
How's Jerry doing?
I haven't spoken with him in a while. I'm assuming he's fine at his house in the hills here.
Yeah.
His birthday's coming up, right?
Huh?
His birthday's coming up.
Yeah, you know, he has these great last year. Well, yes, it is coming up again. When is it?
It's usually after NAMM. I remember it was like sometime in February, February or March. Yeah.
Yeah. Normally he throws these great parties for his birthday every year, and everyone goes to his house, and you know, there's catered food, and it's always an interesting hang because, you know, it's all the people he knows, but there's a big, you'd never quite know who you're going to see and who's talking to who. You know, like one time I walk in the door and it's Steve Perry sitting at the table with Steve Jones next to him, and they're talking. And then there's this other guy who's this actor guy. He goes, you know what? It'd be a good idea. You know, you guys, you should be the new singer for the Sex Pistols. And I'm just watching this going, oh my God. You know,
Steve Perry.
Yeah. Steve Perry.
That makes perfect sense.
And then, you know, I'm like, yeah, exactly. And then, you know, like another time, you know, you see like, you're there and you're hanging out, and all of a sudden on the couch is Brendan O'Brien, Billy Duffy, and Wayne Kramer having a little conversation. You know what I mean? And then, you know, just all sorts of people, you know, Steven Tyler's been there, and all sorts of people would come and go. Nancy Wilson, and so every party has a different kind of vibe and feel to it, and a different set of people. Some regulars that are always there, and I always have a good time at those parties.
Yeah,
he's such a great
last
guy.
year it got canceled last year because of COVID, and I'm assuming this year it's canceled too.
Yeah,
maybe next year.
Yeah,
you know, we hope.
We've got a super chat from Mr. Ruben Santiago. Thank you,
James.
Is that James?
That's James.
It's James.
That's James Santiago.
Okay.
Only James would ask that question.
I was going to say, I don't. Yeah, nobody has a favorite Kaler guitar.
Yeah, James does.
Well, actually, Jerry Cantrell.
Jerry Cantrell does. His guitar is actually quite cool with it, believe it or not.
Yeah, I was going to say Cantrell he liked the Kaler.
So we had a super chat again, Mark, from the guy that talked about the JCM 2000, and of course he apologized. Is the JCM 2000 considered the worst Marshall? By no means is it the worst Marshall.
No, actually, it was pretty good.
JCM 900s might go down in history as
absolutely
maybe
my vote.
The worst ones. Or there was a limited edition 30th anniversary amp that had multiple channels and MIDI that was just god awful.
No,
that was worse than the 900s.
What about the V4 or something like that? Wasn't there
a
Mode 4?
The Mode 4.
Actually, you know what? The Mode 4 wasn't. It was a solid state amp. It wasn't as bad as some of the 900 maybe. And then
man, the 900 is like razor.
900 is just
brutal.
Oh, just bad.
See, I had a DSL 50.
The DSLs are cool. The DSLs are actually reasonably good compared for a new Marshall.
Instead of the TSLs.
The TSL though is not as good as the DSL. Great. That's more of the dog of the SL range. The TSL is DSL. If you had to pick the backline amp, the DSL.
The DSL
exactly. Probably you can get it. You can make it behave where it's okay if you don't put too much gain on it. Back it up and get the volume up a little bit. Mm-hmm. It'll work. So no, you didn't offend me. I just, I think you're going to find a different, if you're going to try some of my amps, you're going to find a different sort of thing.
You want something fat with high gain.
That's an HBE.
I was going to say,
a B100 Deluxe, man, would kick ass because it's got everything under the sun in it now at this point, way past what you have, Richard.
Well, whatever.
Well, no, I mean, like
single channel amps.
Simple. That's fine. I like that. Believe me, that's my favorite. But
man, single channel amps.
If you're looking for a, that's why your amp would be fun to do.
Right?
Do you have any single channels?
The Phil X is a single channel.
Okay, yeah, there you go.
It has a second master, but that's just a volume boost,
right?
The Dirty Shirley was a single channel.
Yeah, that's a good amp.
Yeah, that's a good one. And now we have the Twin Sister, which is just two of those. So it's two Dirty Shirleys.
Oh, okay.
Two duplicate channels, not a lot of switches or anything, just two duplicate channels. So you can set one cleaner and one dirtier.
I love Phil. Phil's like one of my favorite guitar players.
Phil's awesome.
He is. He's a badass.
Yeah,
great player. So fun. Where he gets that energy, I have no freaking idea. It's crazy.
Yeah,
the funny thing is, like he has that energy when he's really like kind of. Sometimes he's mellow if you're just hanging out with him.
Yeah,
he's pretty mellow, and like. But boy, put him in front of a camera or something.
There you go.
On stage, and it's like the Energizer Bunny turned on.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah. He's not like that when you're hanging out with him.
No, really?
No, he's very relaxed. That's cool.
Yeah, he's chill.
Drew A asks, I know we're getting a lot of questions for Dave. Let's ask questions for Rich.
Why? Dave's more of a legend than me. Dave is normal to run preamp volume low.
when I set it above 1 to 2 on my single rectifier, sound becomes unusably woolly and compressed. Thanks.
I've always had that problem with single rectifier.
Yeah, well, it's a rectifier, so
Yeah.
Yes, lower is good for that. At least under 5. Yeah. It's going to get woolly. It's going to get, I mean, that's the rectifier thing, you know.
Mm.
You know, even like the rectifier was based off of Soldano, and even a Soldano amp, you want to keep the gain down at lower than 6. I mean, that's just where the cut comes in, and it just kind of cuts better. In general, you want to keep your gains lower, people. It's just in general. Like, I get these questions all the time. It's like, well, I need the lead boost and this is not enough gain, and I need more gain. And I'm like, why are you? No, it's just going to sound like a box of bees after a while. You know, it's if you want punchy, clean, ballsy headroom, you know, you want a kind of a cleaner amp. Richard knows with all those amps he has.
100%.
It's like, you know, a lot of those records and things were about the volume that they had on those amps, and the sustain came from the volume. This is the problem. Sometimes, you know, it's like, yeah, you get the pleasure of having no cabinets on stage now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, we do have. I have one. Slash has one on his side.
Yeah, but does it just get swelled in or something, or just pulled in, or do you have it going all the time?
Mine goes all the time. I've got like a combo,
Okay.
You know, just so there's some interaction between the pickup and the
so there's feedback.
And right. Well, just there's that natural thing that happens between a pickup and a speaker, you know.
Right. So if you have a cabinet and a speaker, a pickup and a speaker, there's some natural sustain that happens with that interaction. Without it, I understand. But I mean, my thought is try to learn to play with less gain. I mean,
that's not anything to do with why we don't have a wall. No. But
I know why
definitely playing with. You know what? I was shocked when Angus Young came and sat in with us a few times, and his amps are not gainy at all. All that sustain is just volume and his fingers. It's incredible.
Yeah, it's like a plexi not turned up all the way.
Right.
Yeah.
But I never cranked my plexis. I mean, not all the way up.
I mean, that's the thing. So it's just a matter of learning to play that way. You know, it's just like, it's like you saw those old, you know, Mark knows about these. There were these old interviews with Eddie Van Halen with Steven Rosen. And he was talking about, I think, his new record at the time. I think it was Van Halen 2 or something, I think, if I recall.
Yeah.
And he was sitting there with either a clean amp or just electric guitar with nothing plugged in. And he was showing him the riffs and stuff. Oh yeah, it's this new one. It goes like this and this. And you would hear him do all his thing. His harmonics, his everything.
Yeah, like when he's running the hand.
Totally clean.
You know, that kind of thing.
The complete pick slides, runs, everything just totally clean. And every single thing sounded just like it did with the distortion. Like there was no like clamming because it was clean or anything. It was just like flawless.
Yeah.
You don't need the gain.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like if you start recording records and things, you'll understand that's your enemy. You want those sounds cleaner, and you start stacking guitars and stuff and different sounds. You want it clean, and then it sounds huge.
Right? Yep.
It's just like Led Zeppelin wasn't that dirty, but it sounded huge. You know.
Yeah.
Chris Quinn, thank you for the super chat. Dave, could you talk about designing your drive pedals? Were you inspired by any other pedal designs? Do you have collaborators? I love details. Thanks, Chris.
The only prerequisite is that it sort of sounded like my amps. So no, not necessarily other pedal designs, although there were a few that I liked out there. but the pedals aren't derivatives of those. Like, I mean, the Carl Martin Plexi Drive was a cool pedal. You know, into a clean amp, you could get a cool, convincing Marshall-esque sort of tone. I mean, there was a couple others. I don't know. I think MI Audio had a box called the Crunch Box, which was a cool box into a clean amp. I mean, the idea with the pedals was to kind of just get the tone into a clean amp. You could plug it into your little solid state practice amp and then get this, you know, badass cranked up Marshall-y distortion sort of thing. Do I have a collaborator? I have a circuit board engineer collaborator on the pedals that I work with. No one known, no one you would know, but he does the circuit board designs for the pedals and some circuit ideas with my input. So we came up with them together.
Cool. Super Chicks, thank you. What's up, guys? Richard saw GnR in Dubai, Zurich, Bologna, Montreal, and
Abu Dhabi. Wow, you get around.
Man, what are you doing? Where are you going? This is crazy.
Wow.
That's a lot of shows, man. I guess you're following the band around.
Super Chicks likes to travel.
Yeah. Remember travel?
Yeah. Those were the days.
Abu Dhabi. That must have been a crazy show at Abu Dhabi.
Abu Dhabi, we've done a few times. Well, Dubai is right there. Abu Dhabi and Dubai are right next to each other.
Right, exactly.
What's that like? What's it like to play in Dubai or Abu Dhabi?
Or big crowds?
Or is it just like any other show? You go from your dressing room to the stage and back?
No, we generally have done. There's a racetrack. Ferrari World is there.
Oh yeah.
And so we generally do that big racetrack, and it's an interesting city. I mean, Dubai is really interesting. It's it's not like there's native Dubaians that live there, you know, much, you know, there's only a few of those. And then there's like just tons of people that are there that are working, you know. It's an interesting city. But, you know, when you go to Dubai, they're very proud of every, you know, oh, that's the fastest roller coaster, and that's the tallest building, and this is the widest highway, and, you know, everything's got to be I remember seeing a Christmas tree in Dubai that was the largest Christmas, or the most expensive Christmas tree. It had gold Rolexes hanging as decorations. It's like, first of all, this is a Muslim country, but second, who's gonna hang Rolexes on? They sell. I remember at that same place they were selling gold bullion in a vending machine.
Wow.
It's so out there, man. It's a very strange place.
Wow.
Very strange.
Interesting.
That's cool.
But the shows are cool.
I bet
you know.
But I think we have another super chat from Super Chicks. Thank you for that, Dave. How would you
now one for me?
The 1x10 Dirty Shirley combo versus the 1x12 40-watt combo. I want a JTM 45 tone in a combo version, usually play through two 2203s with 4x12 scumbacks, loaded cab, loud 6 to 10 volume, maybe a TS9. Thanks.
Well, the DS does the more JTM 45S kind of fat tone. Man, though, I gotta say, I really like. I mean, the 40 watt obviously is a great amp, and the combo is really cool. But there is something about the little one, the 110. It's a pretty badass little combo. It's tiny, man, and it sounds huge. And you know, man, I have one here in my shop, or at least in my house, that I use. It, you know, if I'm working on a pedal or something, and I need an amp to plug into to test if it's working after I fixed it or something. I just have a little combo here. But also, like, like for instance, like that Soldano preamp back there, I had to change a transformer in it and fix it. And I plug it into the effects loop return of this little 112 combo just for a power amp, so I could listen to it. And man, this stuff just sounds huge. The little 110 just sounds huge. In fact, the latest idea I've had in my head was like, man, what if you just do this 110 combo, the power amp return for just effects return, just like wet. So you got your big amp or your big cabinet, and you take a line out and you feed some effects, and then just go into this little 110, just a return of it. And
what speaker are you putting in it?
It's a Greenback 10.
Okay.
It's a great speaker. And it sounds huge. So I don't know. Do you need 20 watts? Do you need 40 watts? That's really your question. But the little guy is super cool.
That's cool. And they had a follow-up. Super Chicks want to buy a combo for loud home use with a drummer, maybe buy another extension cab.
Loud sounds like he needs the 40.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I don't know. It's hard to say. Some people say the 21 amps are, plenty loud for them to play with a drummer. I mean, that wouldn't work for me. It's like, I don't know. It's like any drummer that I've ever played with over the years has been like way louder. I need a much louder amp.
For the most part. Yeah.
So yeah, maybe you should just get the 40 then. 40 Dirty Shirley, or even a twin sister if you want 2 channels of it. A 112 combo. It's great. Put a red back in it now. It sounds really killer.
Yeah. And thanks for the super chats, by the way. Here we got a question for Richard. Richard, what tips do you have for learning songs? What's your process? An example of GnR would be great. And kind of add to that, I was curious what was the hardest GnR song for you to learn?
Some of the Chinese democracy stuff is pretty complex. And there's a lot going on, tonally that I've got to cover. So just, a lot of different effects, a lot of, there's so much stuff in my rig that Dave knows about that is just for that stuff. Because all the appetite stuff and most of the illusion stuff, I just need an amp. I don't need to. But all the effects that I have to carry are for replicating all the Chinese democracy stuff. But as far as learning songs, it's you get in that zone where you sit down and you're like, okay, I'm going to learn one song and I'm going to play through all the ones that I know. And, you sit down and figure them out. I mean, now it's so easy. I mean, when we were kids, you'd have to lift the needle up and put it back and, and you slow it down. It's, but that now the tools are just insane what you can do with. Now there's a lot of times I'll go to YouTube and look at videos to get, that, and a lot of times they're wrong, but it gets you to a starting point, or, it's always good to
get you close.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Or it's good to see, sometimes people will pick up on stuff that I didn't, so it's, I mean, there's so many tools out there now. God, it must be hard to be a kid learning guitar now, because there's so much at your fingertips. You've got to be really focused. I mean, do you remember when we were kids, you would get like a record or an instructional book, like, and you learn, or remember the Hot Licks tapes and all
Star
that.
Licks,
Star Licks. That was it. So then, you lived that until you've completed it.
Star Licks. So you're learning like Heartbreaker solos or something, and
I mean, now it's just anything that you want is all available on, at your fingertips. It's incredible. It's hard for me to focus on, like, I'm constantly like, oh man, I want to learn how to do this. I want to learn, it's incredible asset. The being able to sit down in front of YouTube and just go down those wormholes. But yeah, for me, learning songs, I mean, it's a matter of doing it over and over, because you don't want to. If I'm going out to do a live gig like with Guns or with Thin Lizzy or whatever, I'm not going to sit down and chart it out, because then I rely on that. You know, I can't do that. It's for me, when I'm going in this to do a record in the studio, I'll chart stuff out because I can sit there and read it. But live, if I chart it out first, I'll rely on it. Like there's two different sides of my brain, I guess. I just can't do that. I have to sit and memorize it right from. But really, the thing about, for me, learning a song is mainly listening to it over and over. You know.
Yeah, knowing it inside and out and backwards.
Yeah, because if you know it in your head, then the rest is easy.
Right. Now, were you guys doing a lot of Chinese democracy songs live? Part of the set?
They change all the time. But we've got like since Slash has been back, we've played probably 7 or 8 songs off that album. We don't do them all in one night, but
right.
We don't really have set lists. Axel calls stuff out a lot of the time, so he'll call something and
ready.
Yeah.
Better know it.
Yep, we do a lot of rehearsing. We do a lot of rehearsing.
And in the rehearsing, is Axel there with you guys, or is it just you guys?
Not always. Most of the time, no. Most of the time, it's just us like going over the song. So Slash just loves to play, which I'm totally cool with, because it's great to rehearse so much that you don't have to. And this is, I think, where he's coming from, is he doesn't want to have to think when he gets on stage. And I totally concur with that. I want it to be ingrained, so I don't have to think about, what's coming up next,
Yeah.
It just comes naturally.
Yeah, you just want it to flow, and not, you want to be in the moment and not thinking about what's going to be coming up.
Right. So with this downtime that you've been at home and stuff, thankfully, spending time with family and kids, have you been working on solo stuff or stuff for Guns, or has it been
solo stuff? Nobody wants to hear solo stuff. No, I've been working on I've been doing sessions for different people. So different artists will contact me. I've been doing some production stuff. I've been working, we just released a new Psychedelic Furs album that I produced. And so I was busy with that. I've been busy doing stuff with the singer from that band, doing another project. It's mainly orchestrating. So I've been doing a lot of string arrangements lately. And that's like just something that I get hired to do a lot, and I love doing it. But yeah, just doing guitar sessions, people sending me records or, TV commercials or video game scores, or it's been really busy. I've been really fortunate that I've been working every day, and just I get up and have breakfast with the kids and then come down and go to work.
Awesome.
That's great.
Yeah.
Now,
it's been really great.
Are you trained musically in the sense, like classically trained, or,
Yeah, I grew up playing violin and cello all throughout school. And so, that still serves me well. I still play, when I'm doing stuff like that, but I'm doing mostly scoring on the computer, working with different libraries and things, orchestrating that way.
Yeah. Right. And you use the
which very time consuming, because every instrument has, for every section, you're going to have 40, 50 different articulations. So it's time consuming, but it's fun. I enjoy it. Yeah, it's what's been great about this? What's been great about being home and being back in the studio all the time is that I've amassed all these amps, this collection of guitars and amps. And now, I've been buying them for the last 20 years that I've been on the road. And so now I get to come home and like I'm discovering stuff like all this, all these different amps and pedals and really digging into that and experimenting more with mic tech, miking, and it's been a lot of fun. That's been great.
That sounds fun.
So what kind of pedals have you been playing with? Just out of curiosity.
Man, George Trips just sent me this
Astrides?
A treatise.
Treatise,
the
micro synthy sort of thing.
So cool. It's a lot of fun. Cool. And then this R2R Electronics, they do this treble booster.
Oh yeah.
It's man, it's dead on. It sounds
into the lane.
Man, that into I have an AC-15.
Yeah.
Sounds incredible. I've got a 212 AC-15, a 64.
Cool. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, talk about tube rectified. Do you like the AC-15s, Dave?
Love AC-15s.
Yeah.
Yeah. Totally, AC-15, AC-30. Here, the Desert Island amps for me, and I've told.
Wait, let me get my pen.
Yeah, that's why we're moving in.
Well, this isn't that hard. Yeah, it's not that hard. Here's the thing: if you are going to be recording a bunch and you have a studio and you want some Desert Island amps that will get you pretty much everything. So you need some sort of blackface flavor, be it a Fender something. Like I would tend to a lot of heads, so I like a Bassman or something. Fender blackface Bassman head.
I've got a brown face Bassman head.
Brown face Bassman, that'd be cool. Useful for the basic Fender tone. I like to basically, not like all the esoteric amps that you can get, but like the basics. So you have that. For me, a old Marshall, a Plexi Marshall. Ideally a Plexi Marshall, but at least an old Marshall. Early 70s. No circuit board, like 100 watt, 50 watt, something in that vein. You got to have that. And then a Vox AC-30, preferably old, copper top, preferably with a top boost circuit. Gotta have that. That's just like, so you got your clean, you got your semi-broken stuff, you got your more classic rock, anywhere from AC/DC to crunchier Van Halen kind of S things. And then I'm going to do 5 amps. Then you have your one flavor of higher gain amp, because you're going to probably need something to do that. So one flavor of higher gain amp, be it a Friedman or a Soldano or something. And then maybe an alternate in there, like say it depends on what you're more into, say maybe a high watt or maybe a Selmer or maybe a Silvertone or a Supro or some alternate flavor in there. And pretty much with about 5 amps, you can do anything you need to do. Now, there's a lot of other amps out there, obviously. But if you really think about that, you can do everything you need to do with those 5 amps I said. Covers pretty much all bases.
Man, I wish I could subscribe to that. Because then I could sell everything else.
There's a lot of different colors in there, and there is, but
you're a big tweed guy, Rich. So
no, I'm an everything guy, man. I mean,
there's a lot of different colors.
I love magnetones.
I'd be okay with that.
I use magnetones more. That's one of mine. That's one of mine that I have a 112 magnetone. These are all vintage magnetones. That I use all the time. It sounds great cranked up. Sure. I've got
yes, you can go on forever with that, and I understand that. Of course, you can go, but like on a daily basis.
No, you're right.
You need to do and work constantly. Probably what I said would cover all your bases. Would be just fine.
Sonic.
Now, of course, there's a great Magnetone or a great Laney or a great Gibson or a great
Tweeds.
The Gibsons are cool. But if you're looking to buy 5 amps and that's all you're going to have,
yeah,
here's what,
stuff.
those are the Desert Island 5 amps to me.
Right.
yeah.
And like I said, the 5th one slot is a little optional there, so it depends on what your slant is on that 5th slot. Be it I love Silvertones.
I do too. What's your favorite Silvertone?
Just your typical, your typical. Here's the thing. I like just the heads. I don't really care. The cabinets I don't care about. I can use, to be honest, I could use 1 or 2 cabinets and be done with it. With all the amps, like a great 4x12 with greenbacks or something would be fine, or maybe an alternate cabinet for some other tones. That's fine.
Right.
You can run the Vox through it. I don't care. It's fine.
Yep.
Yeah. So in a studio, if you have a small studio, five amps and an amp switcher into one cabinet, mic'd up perfectly, that'll be fine. Or put 2 different speakers in the cabinet so you can mic up 2 different kinds of speakers. And if you want a blue as part of it, put a blue in one slot or something, or a creamback or something.
God, my life would be so much easier.
Yeah, and but there's so many
much
fun amps. I agree. I mean, and I can think about it. Magnetones are killer with the trem and stuff, and oh god, the trem.
Oh man, the stereo.
And then you get
stereo
have
vibrato.
Oh, nice.
The Brown Bandmasters with that crazy vibey tremolo in them.
Yep.
Oh god, those are
the
good.
Bandmaster head. You mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got.
Yeah,
one.
but they have that crazy tremolo.
Yeah,
that almost sounds like a univibe.
Right.
Yeah, it's like a highly modulated tremolo that they did only in some of those. I've only got to work on one of those ever, and I really want to own one.
Is that the same as the trem that
that's basically the amp Eddie Van Halen had, the Bandmaster that he used early on in his life.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I've got a
brown face Bandmaster presence knob.
Right there.
Is that presence knob on it? Yeah.
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 That's the Bandmaster.
Yeah. And it has that crazy modulated sort of tremolo.
The tremolo, yeah.
Yeah, it's so cool.
That's cool. Here's a question for you, Dave. Eric Bernston, thank you for the super chat. Is there a good amp that uses the 900 SLX style preamp? I like its shimmer gain, but still seems lackluster. The 2 gain controls just have a good interaction.
No.
I don't know of anything.
That also was not good. 900's not good. I mean, if there's something that you like about it, I'm not going to say that it's not good. Okay, let me rephrase that. If you think something is great and you can coax a sound out of it that's cool, then it's great. I've learned over the years doing rigs for people that my opinion, it doesn't really matter. It depends on the individual player. Because I've seen some people use some crazy ass shit that you would think sounds awful. But when they play it with their hands and you listen to it, it's amazing sounding. And you're literally looking at it afterwards going, how did he get that sound out of it? And now if you played through it, it might sound awful. But it works for him. So for me to say something is just crap, well, it might work for you. I don't want to just say that, Have you ever run into that, Richard? Like where someone uses crazy stuff that
some of my favorite guitar players actually played JC120s and made them sound great.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, like even like the Cure stuff and all that stuff.
Yeah.
It was great. And I've seen Ty Tabor from King's X using the Lab Series amp with the Fender Elite preamp in the guitar, and man, that's a sound to die for.
Yeah.
I mean, but only he
got his tone.
Get it. And I've run into other people over the years too. I keep going down this. There was this one band that I did some work on this guy's rack, and it was probably back in the 90s at some point in time. So they were a signed band, and the band was called 1,000 Mona Lisas. And I don't remember what label they were signed to at the time, but it was primarily a punk band. Well, punk-ish band. Not really punk per se. But man, he brought me this rig, and it was, the strangest combination of things. It was like a Mesa Boogie tri-axis preamp and a 290 power amp with a ART Smart EQ in between them. But then he had a pedal drawer that had like 3 different like pedals, like overdrives and stuff, that went into a silver-faced twin with JBLs.
Oh man.
And it would run together. And the pedals would only go into the silver-faced twin. And I'm like looking at, I had to fix some hums and buzzes and some different things in it that he had going on. Didn't have enough money at the time to do a whole redo, but we fixed it up so it would work. And I'm looking at this going, oh God, you'll play through it and you're like, wow, this sounds pretty good. The combination of all of it together, like this sounds really good. I get it. This sounds great. And it's like this combination of these pedals into this trashy amp with a silver-faced twin with a master volume. It was particularly great. With the JBLs and just searing, crunchy weirdness here. And then you have this tri-axis, which I'm not a fan of anyway, here. And the blend of the two just sounded fantastic. So that was one of the rigs I remember that just proved me like going, anything can work depending on the player.
Yeah.
And sometimes the weirdest combinations make the greatest tones.
Yeah.
So, no, that's true.
So I never dismiss anything anymore, and it's happened over the years a million times. It's like, well, I want to run this delay pedal first. You want to run the delay pedal first? Yeah. And I want to run my wah last. Okay. That was Rage Against the Machine.
Whoa.
The bass player. So, and it worked great. Sound he was used to hearing, and that was great.
Right.
So,
hey, if it makes good music, that's all that matters.
No, I'm definitely not the guy that's going to say that, no, that's wrong. You can't use that like that. No. I don't care if you want to put it through, I don't know, your phone machine. I don't know. I'm just thinking of something. I don't care if you want to put it through an old. George Lynch told me a million years ago that he told one of the records that they did with Doc back in the 80s. He used a 4-track Porta Studio, and he plugged into it, and he plugged that Porta Studio, the out of it, into the front of the Marshall. The Porta Studio acted like a booster and a gain, but it had this certain sound, and that he accidentally discovered, and they when they were recording the record, they were hiding the Porta Studio under the console in the control room so no one would see what it was. And it was basically some sort of little tiny stupid, cassette Porta Studio that it was just in and out, acting like gain, and just cranking it into the amp. Wow. Anything works.
Right.
Did you create an interesting sound? I think anymore. I mean, I think people had to do that back in the days when there weren't a bunch of amps out that had a lot of options for you. You had your old JMP Marshalls and, non-master volumes and different things. And it's like, oh, I want to get it heavier and more gain. Okay. How do you do that?
Mm-hmm.
Well, with
people were experimenting with all kinds of shit,
a mod or something. And in some respects, even though we've advanced, I think some uniqueness of tone has been lost over the years. That's all those great players that you loved had a unique tone. Like those Guitar Hero guys had a sound that no one ever heard before or since.
Yep.
Because the options were limited, and they had
think outside of the box, and they made a sound out of what they had.
yeah.
Right.
We got a question here for Rich. Three Wise Monkeys. A little late to the show. Can Richard talk about his Scala guitars if he hasn't already? Cheers from Sydney, Australia.
Oh, those are
I
good.
have not spoken about the Scalas, but I'm wearing a Scala T-shirt. So,
Hey, look at that.
Yeah, man, he is the best luthier I've ever come across.
Yeah, Leo's great.
Have you ever played one of his guitars?
Absolutely. I know Leo, and his guitars are amazing.
Oh, of course you do. What am I thinking? Yeah, because he's got your amps he's got one of your amps in his shop. He does amazing work, and his guitars are the only new guitars that you pick up and they feel like old guitars.
Yeah,
they've got mojo. But that's Leo is one guy in a shop making guitars.
and he's got the vibe and the look. Oh, God.
Man,
the looks are amazing.
his aesthetic sensibility is second to none, and he is a mad scientist, which I love. I love that he will sit and go back and forth on pickups with me, until we find the right combination. And he's so he's as passionate about it as I am, which is awesome. Yeah, I love working with him. And now he's winding his own pickups.
Oh boy.
Yeah, he bought a pickup.
Finally got pissed off with everyone.
Yeah, exactly. Well, because and I think probably like Rob from Arcane probably got fed up with him because he'd keep coming back and go, "Oh, what if we try this?" And Rob's like, "Man, come on, let's do what we know works." But he's always trying to chase the perfect. Yeah, I love his stuff. He's fantastic. Actually, I just gave him one of my signature Gretches to distress. So he's gonna strip it and refinish it and do his thing to it.
Oh man, I bet that's gonna be beautiful.
Yeah, I'm psyched about it.
So let's talk about your signature Gretsch.
Yeah. There's two of them. I actually have one right here. It's a Falcon with I've got a white one and a black one. The black one is a 24 and 24.6 scale. The white one is the traditional 25.5 Gretsch scale. The white one has a Bigsby. They're both double cut, all tortoise binding. The pickups are completely unique. They look like Filtertrons, but it's really a combination of, it's more like a cross between a PAF and a Filtertron.
Cool.
And we spent a lot of time working on the pickups to get the pickups right. And I'm thrilled with them. It's a center block. Electronics are unique for Gretsch. They're it's an audio tape pot.
Yeah.
But we were talking about that before. Yeah. But it's also, there's a treble bleed circuit that I've been using in Gretches for quite a while now, and it works really well for me because I'm as you know, I'm a single channel amp guy, so it's all about the volume knob for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and being able to turn it down and get those chimey Gretsch-like sounds is really important. It cleans up and sparkles up nice.
That looks amazing. I have this thing for hollow bodies. I want one now.
Yeah.
When's it coming out? You said it's coming out later in the year?
Yeah, later this year. And it's the full Gretsch size. So it's the big body.
They're gonna have a lefty?
Yeah, but it will have a linear taper pot.
Yeah, I was gonna say it was linear. But will they make a lefty, do you think?
I don't know. That's a good question, but it's a double cut, so I would imagine it wouldn't be that hard to make it.
Couldn't. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? I never really, until we were talking earlier about the pots, I never really were thinking about the pots and the left-handed thing.
Yeah,
But you just
I don't know.
solder it on a regular pot. You just solder it differently for a
The
left.
taper's different. Yeah, you solder the in and out are reversed,
Right.
so it operates in the opposite direction.
Right.
Because the way you would be lefty rolled off would be all the way up on a regular guitar.
Exactly.
So the taper of the pot is completely different. Theoretically,
Right.
what you want is a reverse audio taper pot for a lefty.
Right. Do they even make those?
Yeah. Well, not in every value, but yeah. They do. And that's the thing. You'd want a reverse audio taper pot because it's the actual reverse of it.
Right. Because
Otherwise, a linear taper pot is not the same. It's like comes on and
No.
off differently. And I just never ever even dawned on me to think about that until today.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So what you're saying is, even if I use a regular taper pot and it's soldered the other way for a left-handed roll off, the actual taper is different.
Yeah, well, it's the opposite. So
yeah,
it's the opposite. So what happens is all the way up is for you all the way up. Let me think about this for a second. It's hard to think about.
I mean, it rolls back clean like a normal.
Probably really quickly.
Yes.
Very, very quickly.
Right.
You don't get like on a right-handed guitar, it takes a while for it to roll back.
Yeah.
I mean, if you use a treble bleed, then that all changes the taper anyway. But
right. But yeah, a regular audio taper pot goes up right at the end. Yeah.
So you have a lot more usable room. So reverse audio taper pot for a lefty would be the ideal thing.
Interesting.
So we're gonna have to find you one, Mark. And you have to try it. And it's
I'm gonna have to try it.
It's gonna be like this revelation.
Yeah, can you imagine? Because every pot that I have in my guitar is just,
wired down. Yeah,
wired.
So they all suck.
Yeah, interesting. Wow, that's a revelation.
I mean, linear is just sort of right. The reason they choose linear is it's just sort of right in the middle. It's like even taper, meaning that
from either direction, because it's just a perfect triangle, right?
It's a perfect triangle. Half is half. So, which I mean works, but it's a little weird in the taper if you're used to a regular audio taper pot.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to. That's like my reverb search as soon as we get off this call.
You might need help with that one.
Funny.
You might not be able to find the right ones either in some things.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. You're probably better off just sending Dave a bottle of something.
Exactly.
Well,
I've got that circled right here, Dave Bottle. So
Dave Bottle.
Yeah, another super chat from Super Chicks. Thanks so much. Davis posted a question for Dave. He's 15 and can't afford a Friedman yet. What is the best amp for under $500? Let's assume he plays hard rock. Best amp for $500.
Oh, geez. Under $500.
I was going to say like a Katana. Boss Katana.
Katana might not be bad. I mean, you know what? There's some, and I don't know the model numbers. That's killing me. There's some older like Marshall solid state practice amps that were really cool. Actually, that sounded good. How much are the Yamaha amps, the little THR amps? I don't even know.
Oh, you can get those from.
Those are pretty cool sounding.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a couple little Black Star amps that are little tiny ones that sound okay. This is going to dawn on me in a minute here. What would be the best choice? You could buy any clean old amp and buy one of my pedals.
That's true.
And that'll get you, I mean, like literally like a clean solid state Fender Champ, whatever, for $89, and one of my pedals will sound pretty cool.
And that you can play hard rock with that.
Or if you already have maybe some sort of clean amp or practice amp or something you're using, you could probably get a really, really pretty good tone out of it.
Cool.
I have one of those little Black Stars that I use backstage.
Yeah, there's that little one that sounds okay.
Yeah, it's tube.
Yeah.
Pretty,
I think there's a shootout somewhere that Pete Thorne and someone else did when he was somewhere at some, I don't know, remember what show he was at, but somewhere where they did this little cheap practice amp shootout thing. Like they were in a room at Tolman, I think, and they were just like looking at all the cheap practice amps, and they did a little playthrough of some of them. And some of them sounded definitely better than others.
Was that GitCon? Yeah. One of those GitCon?
One of the GitCons, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
London GnR show was the bomb. Cornell tribute. Oh, it was after Chris passed. Yeah, we did Black Hole Sun.
Oh, nice. That's cool. Can't believe it's, what is it now? 2 years he's gone or something? That's crazy.
That's 2000. No,
that was if that was 2017. That's 3 years.
Wow, or 4 years. Yeah, Jesus.
Sorry, 4 years.
Yeah. Time's flying, man.
This last year has just gone like whiz by.
Isn't it strange?
Yeah, it's just like, eventually maybe there'll be some normalcy.
Yeah, I hope so. I really do. At least by the end of the year. I want to go on vacation. I want to go somewhere.
I mean, to be honest, I don't know. I'm kind of like getting pretty comfortable at home. It's not really bothering me too much.
You see,
I wonder about that. I wonder about how it's going to be when things open up again. If people are going to go out the way they used to, are people going to go to shows the way they used to? I mean, I know there's a lot of people that are really jonesing for it, that are hungry to get out and socialize again. But
I'm see a show. I mean, I'm luckily literally right before California shut down, I went to see 2 shows within a week of each other because my friends that are playing Sponge were out here doing a tour. And
I just played on the new Sponge record.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, those guys are my buds, and they came out here. They were, just doing their normal, tour that they come through, all the cities in California, and this was literally when it was just starting to get a little weird. And it was kind of a weird time, but stuff wasn't closed yet. At that point in time, you're like, oh, it doesn't seem that weird. It seems pretty much everyday business around here, And they played at the Whiskey, and I went down there, loaned them some amps because they were, obviously it's fly date stuff. So, they were happy to get some good amps. And they took them around, down to San Diego and all over. And, the weird thing was when you're at the Whiskey show, last time I saw them at the Whiskey, it was packed. This time I saw them at the Whiskey, there was like 50 people.
Oh,
and well, what had to do with the COVID thing started going on at the time. This was just when it was getting weird. And people were starting like, oh, maybe I shouldn't go out. And, and, so I saw that show, we had drinks next door for a while before, I went down at sound check, and then we had some drinks at the Irish pub next door. And then they did a few dates, and then they came back to the area, and then they were playing in Santa Clarita up at the Pearl or whatever, not the Pearl or whatever the other, there's a club up there now. And so I went to see them again up there. Great shows, killer band, live, they just kill. I mean, they just like loud guitars, feedback, real rock and roll, just the right stuff, like fun to watch because, anytime when a band that has some stage volume plays a rock and roll show and, there's feedback and like the whole thing, it presents this energy.
Yep.
That a lot of things today miss, and they do it really well. So, and Vinny's an amazing front man. So
yeah, he's great. He's also a good drummer.
He has this charismatic thing to him. And when he walks on stage, you just look at him and he hasn't said a word. And you're like, oh yeah. It's that thing.
Yep.
that thing. He doesn't have to say a word. He just has that look. And luckily, I saw those two shows within the week of each other, and then I had a dinner scheduled with a friend of mine at Bestia in downtown LA here, which is an amazing restaurant. And then at that point in time, it's getting a little crazier. Like, should we even go to this restaurant? So we went, we did it, just like it was amazing because it didn't seem like anyone cared there. It was packed. And then everything shut right after that.
I think we played the last stadium show in the world.
Yeah, you probably did. You guys were out on tour.
Yeah.
We played Mexico City, and that was it. I mean, everything else had canceled. Everything else, we were supposed to do a South American tour, and everything else was shut down. But Mexico City was like, nah, we want to do it. They were like, there's no COVID here.
Yeah, I remember I was I think shortly before you guys went out on that run, I was at rehearsals with you over at and all the texts were like, man, I hope they don't cancel this. I need this money and this and yeah. Well, it's like a couple weeks later, it was canceled.
All canceled. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I flew home from Mexico City. That was it. We played the one show, and that was it.
Yeah.
And we were trying to get them to pull it, but we were contracted to do it. And we figured we'd walk out to a stadium full of masked Mexicans. No. But no, not one mask.
Actually, in Mexico, it didn't really.
Mexico City for a while. Mexico City did get hit hard. Eventually, they just weren't. Yeah. They weren't testing anybody, so they,
Yeah, it's just like whatever.
Yeah.
Ugh, God. Well, I know for me, I will. Once I get my vaccine, I'll wear a mask. I'll go to a concert.
Yeah.
I'll wear a mask.
Man, we're still holding out, hoping that this summer happens in Europe, but
yeah, we'll see.
We'll see.
I'm sort of thinking that nothing's going to happen this summer, and it's going to happen in fall of 2021. Third quarter. Well, fourth quarter, maybe.
Fourth quarter. Yeah, we're.
Well, I mean, you just got to get everyone. Here's the thing: it's like everyone has to get vaccinated, and at least the people that'll take it, but has to get vaccinated, and we have to get this virus knocked down. You got to see the cases drop after the vaccinations, where it's minimal. It's your numbers are low, and
right, the positivity.
Yeah, you're gonna still wear masks for a while, probably, but fine. I'll go to a show with masks. I don't give a shit anymore.
Neither do I.
I'm so used to it now; it doesn't make any difference.
I don't give a fuck.
You get a cool mask, so what?
I just want to go out. I'm at this point. I just want to go out. So, at least for me,
they just opened California restaurants again, or at least outdoor dining.
Ted Furr has a question for me. Hey, Mark. Anyway, I can pick your brain on how you set up your wet, dry, wet. Yeah, man. Anytime. Email me at tonetalkmark@gmail.com. And I'm happy to help. Or you can email Dave because he's the one.
Dave's done a few wet, dry, wet.
I've done a few. And Eddie Van Halen just one. So
that's who I'm stealing it from. So
yeah. So
Mark and I would both want a lefty Scala. I've not played one, but I tried.
Scala guitars, dude. You need one.
Wow. Okay.
Someday those will be incredibly expensive, I'm sure. He's second to none, really.
Got a question from Robert Jackson. Thanks for the super chat. Hey, Rich, I'm learning amp design from a good friend, Obed. Talk about your Park amp. Best one I've ever heard, and it sounds good at any volume. Obed. Okay,
Obed is my my neighbor, and happens to be a phenomenal amp guy. He designed all the new Magnatone stuff, Dave.
Okay.
He did when Ampeg was bought by St. Louis Music, he designed all their guitar amps when they reissued all the really talented guy, great Marshall guy. I'm not sure which park you're talking about because I have a Park Rockhead. I have a you know the Rockhead, Dave?
Yeah, that's a weird one. That's
Yeah.
it's an odd circuit.
It was the precursor to the JCM 800.
Well, yeah, but it sort of, yes, but the circuit's very, very different. It's not what the 800 became. And
Well,
you know,
they ended up stripping
brought
it
that up.
down, and
We brought that up. Oh, you started to say something, and I was going to say something, but I didn't at the time. JCM 800. So here's the thing. It seems like everyone has this. JCM 800s are revered these days, you know, like as like these holy grail amps.
They were
And
hated.
I have to say that during the time when I was growing up, that was the dog. I mean, that was just not. People thought 800s kind of sucked, and you know the JMPs before them were a little bit better, and then obviously the older 4-input ones.
4-input.
The ones, you know, the Marshalls. That's what a Marshall sounds like. And like this thing about an 800 has become this revered thing. But it was weird. It was like I remember distinctly, like in the late 80s, early 90s, it's just like the 800 was not the revered thing. It was kind of like, it's the newer amp. It kind of sounds like, sounds a little anemic and sounds a little weird and sounds just a little, you know, it wasn't like the old ones. And so that was at that point, an era of a time was the consensus of that amp, which I find it kind of funny. That it became such this revered thing, and those were kind of the shit amps at the time.
Yep. But so he was asking about a park, but I think I know what he was talking about. This it's basically like a JTM 45 with white coffin knobs, the 66, and that's my favorite plexi that I own. I mean, it's just, man, it's just incredible. Pair that, I use that with a basement a lot of times, and the combination of those two, a 59 basement, and even though they're very similar circuits, I know they're still very different.
They're basically the same, but different speakers.
Yeah. And man, that I love that amp. It's an amazing amp. And then also the Park 150, I love that I was talking about. Yeah, it's a beast though. But
I just like how Parks look.
You like what?
I like how
they
Parks
look.
Yeah.
You notice where that my whole thing came from the Park. Logo to the left, square block logo.
Yep.
That all came from my love of Parks.
Yep.
That's cool.
You need coffin knobs.
I know. Mitch Colby had them remade. There was a couple amps I made custom for people that I bought from Mitch. I bought the Park.
Oh, did you?
From yeah.
Man, I haven't played Mitch's Parks.
Oh, they're good.
I've heard they're great.
Yeah, I mean they're a beautiful hand wired amp. It's an amazing amp. It's
I'm sure it is.
But he had the coffin knobs remade, and they're expensive.
That's great.
They're expensive, but I mean, he's like, "Are you sure you want to buy these? They're expensive." I'm like, "I don't care. The person wants them really bad, so I'm going to put them on. I don't care. What do they cost? You know, I don't remember what they were, $5 a piece or something."
They do look really cool.
I know. They look super cool.
Cool.
I always said when Mitch got the Park name, when Marshall let it languish and took the trademark for it, I'm like, God damn you. I would have taken that name if I would have known.
Yeah, right.
That would be cool.
They jumped on it.
Yeah.
I would have jumped on that in a heartbeat.
Yeah, I love the way Parks look.
Yeah.
Super cool. Very cool.
So what was different about the Rockhead circuit?
The Rockhead, you know what? I recently
wasn't that like the first channel switching?
Well, I recently looked at the Rockhead circuit because someone was asking me about an amp for sale, and I was looking at it, and I go, it's just totally different than a normal Marshall. I mean, it had cascaded gain stages, but it didn't have
Yeah.
a cathode follower circuit in it, and it was quite different from the typical architecture that Marshall was or became. So it's a unique circuit that didn't really appear anywhere else. It was something they were trying at the time, I think.
Yeah. Well, that's what Park was, though. Park was like a place where that's where they experimented.
Sure.
That for this stuff, and that's what I had read in the Marshall book. He says that the Rockhead is what got stripped down because it was too expensive for them to produce. So when Marshall, they just stripped it down, and that's what became the 800. But that's what it says in the book. But I know it's very different. It doesn't sound like an
totally
800,
different circuit.
Sure.
And I don't see how it would be more expensive either.
I don't know.
That doesn't really. I think that's a line of bullshit.
Could be. Yeah. I love the Rockhead. It's a very unique amp.
Oh, it can be cool, I'm sure, but it's quite unique.
That's cool. Jamie Nelson. Hey, Mark. Will Dave still mod a Jet City?
Why are you asking Mark when I'm here?
Right.
I think he's a little afraid.
Yeah, he's intimidated.
Yeah, I can. Send me an email.
You still do them, right?
Yeah, sure.
It just the 20 though? Was it the Jet City?
JCA 20 is
right.
or JCA something 20. They just not the 2-channel ones. It's a different circuit.
Okay. I think we've gone through all the questions.
I haven't been looking.
Yeah, I've gone through everything. And it's just hitting the 2-hour mark, and Dave just hit something because he's gone.
How long do you guys do this show?
We usually go about an hour and a half, 2 hours. That's about.
Damn.
Yeah. It's about 2 hours. Dave will be back in a second. He'll click it back on. But while we're waiting for Dave, so are you working on any new GnR material with the guys, or is that Slack Axel? Or you can't talk about that
stuff. No, I don't talk about that stuff.
Okay,
it's a very private band. We don't like to.
Yeah, I understand.
Sorry,
Hey, there he is.
Every once in a great while, like I scroll over in the comments section, and it just throws me off. I have no idea why.
That's all right. I asked a no question while you were gone. So
what was that?
About new Guns N' Roses material.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, we'll have to wait. We will have to wait.
We'll see.
And we
will a lot.
We might be dead.
I'd like to hear it. I would like to hear it. That's for sure. So, Rich, I really want to thank you for coming on the show, man.
Man, it's great to talk to you guys.
Yeah,
I got to ask Dave all the questions I've been wanting to ask him. So,
yeah. So now call me or email me, and we'll talk about other stuff.
I will for sure.
Yeah,
man, that would be cool. That'd be really cool.
Do or a limited thing, or whatever. You have my number.
Yep.
Awesome.
Good talking to you guys.
Yeah.
Cool, good night. Thank you very much for having me. I really
have a good year. Have a good. Don't get sick and blah blah blah.
Man, with any luck, I will see you, Dave, in April.
All right. Hopefully.
Yeah.
Hope so. Stay with us one second.
Okay.
Stay with us, Rich, 1 second before we say goodbye. We've got next show is Dan from that pedal show. We're going to be talking about.
Actually, this would be Dan from the Gig Rig.
Dan from the Gig Rig, right?
Yeah, because it's about gig rig stuff and not the pedal show.
Right, exactly. And then after that, we're in the process of going through some more scheduling, so I'll keep you guys posted. But Dan from Gig Rig will be here. So
awesome.
And that is what did I say? That was February 13th, which is a Saturday, I believe, 10 a.m.
Yes, it's the UK time.
Yeah, it'll be a UK time. So, and we got here, just so you guys know. right here. Richard Sigamp. There you go. All right, guys. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thank you
Hang
very
on a
much.
second, Richard.
Yeah, just
Okay.
hang up. Say